Good evening. The Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for December 11, 2017 will please come to order. And will Ms. Keene please call the roll?
Yes. Linda Cohen.
Here.
Andrea Keene, here. Sarah Johansson.
Here.
Eric Brown.
Here.
Chris McCullough.
Here.
Bonita Lucky.
Here.
Cheryl Paulzine.
Here.
And Dr. Anderson.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, and thanks everybody for your patience. Appreciate it. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda and consent agenda items. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed as a consent agenda item and addressed. The consent agenda items are listed in your board materials, and the recommended action is to approve the agenda and consent agenda items. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second?
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? All right, and with all of our consent agenda items, I will ask Ms. Keene to take a roll call.
All right. Cheryl Paulzine.
Yes.
Eric Brown.
Yes.
Andrea Keene, yes. Linda Cohen.
Yes.
Sarah Johansson.
Yes.
Bonita Lucky.
Yes.
Chair McCullough.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. Our next item tonight is reports from organizations, and we are, as always, excited to hear what Grant has to tell us about the goings-on at Wayzata High School.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Grant Collins, and I'm the Student Body Vice President over at the high school. I'm here tonight to give you guys an update about our last month at the high school. So, first of all, in general school news, Wayzata High School was selected to the 8th Annual AP Honor Roll, one of only 7 schools in Minnesota to receive this designation, along with only 447 nationwide. Last May, we gave 1,826 AP exams to 947 students and had a passing rate of 90%. In Student Council news, last Friday we delivered holiday gifts for 40 members of our community to Interfaith Outreach. We raised almost $5,000 for IOCP, and after purchasing gifts for our adopted families, we were able to give the rest of the money to IOCP for their emergency birthday shelf. In addition to raising money for IOCP, we were also partnering with St. Jude Red Carpet for Hope. Once students reached their individual goal for IOCP, many chose to continue to raise money for supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We will be presenting St. Jude's with the $2,300 donation. In total, the high school community raised over $7,000 in November, and the Student Council wishes to thank our community for their support. On Friday, we'll be celebrating National Ugly Sweater Day. This is a fun annual event at the high school, and we are looking forward to all the crazy sweaters students and staff will be wearing. The Student Council has selected U.S. Navy Captain Brian Quinn as the recipient of the 2017 Distinguished Alumni Award. Captain Quinn is a 1987 graduate of Wayzata High School. He is the captain of the USS Essex, supporting U.S. foreign policy in the Gulf of Yemen. While the Essex was on its last tour there were no American hostages taken, no captured crewmen, and no American ships boarded, nor were there any harm to U.S. interests as the Civil War was raging in Yemen. Captain Quinn has earned several medals during his 15 years in the Navy. We are waiting to hear from Captain Quinn before we set a date for his ceremony. In fine arts news, the fall musical Mary Poppins was a huge success. The theater club is now preparing for the winter musical Little Shop of Horrors. Rehearsals for Eurydice began today. In athletics and activities news, the 3-2-1 teams placed first and third in the nation for fall competition. 3-2-1 is a nationwide quiz bowl type competition. Our 11th and 12th grade team placed first in the nation by 18 points. Our 9th and 10th grade team placed third in the nation. 167 schools nationwide participated in the competition. The Wayzata dance team is undefeated in the Lake Conference again this year. This Thursday, December 14th, they host the meet at Wayzata High School in the gym starting at 7 o'clock p.m. They will honor their senior athletes at this meet. Ruchika Komojala was recognized as the December Standout Student by Cable 12 News. Ruchika was recognized for the hard work she is doing surrounding mental health advocacy. She is also the president of HEART, standing for Helping Every At-Risk Teen. That concludes my update, and I'm open to any questions that you might have for me.
All right, thank you, Grant. Any questions, comments? Is it Heart Week this week at the high school?
Not this week.
Not week? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Grant.
All right, the next item is our recognitions portion, and Dr. Anderson, I'll turn it over to you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chase Anderson. I'm the superintendent for the school district, and it's always my honor to convene the recognitions portion of our school board meeting. So I'd like to welcome all of you and thank you for being here with us this evening. I'd like to start off, as we always do at these recognitions, is to indicate those individuals who have brought forth their intent to retire. And we have one retiree this evening, and that is Tim Hall, Plymouth Creek custodian, who has served in that role for 29 years. And even though Tim is not here, we always give them a round of applause. Tim is probably either working or he's at home enjoying watching this on television perhaps tonight. Next, I'd like to invite our December Employee of the Month forward, Dan Roberts. Dan, please come forward and congratulations. Before I give Dan an opportunity to share a few thoughts, I'd like to read the following script that was submitted on his behalf for his nomination. It is with pride that West Middle School nominates Dan Roberts to be recognized as December's Employee of the Month. Dan has been a teacher for 30 years and has taught 8th grade science at West for 25 of those years. He has also coordinated our school student news program for the last 15 years. Dan was selected by his colleagues for this recognition, and the following are a few of the many positive things people had to say about him. When working with students, Dan is always professional, poised, and energetic. Students are engaged in learning, as he always finds ways to make learning fun. Dan goes above and beyond for his students. He spends lunches and time after school with them, trying to support their learning. The kids love the news show, and it is a success because of his leadership. In his class, he's so patient and kind to the students. He wants all students in his class with all abilities to belong and be successful. His overall positive disposition has had a profound effect on all of us. We would like to thank him for his forthright commitment to making the education of his students the #1 priority. Dan is such an asset to the school. Congratulations to Dan on this recognition, and thank you for your great service to our students and families and the staff at West Middle School. Congratulations.
Thanks for having me. About 2 weeks ago, David Lutz came into my room, and I have the unusual but great pleasure of working next door to my wife, Lori, who teaches 6th grade science at West. And she was in my room and after school, and Dave came in and said that I'd been nominated for this award, and would I be willing to accept it? And I thought that was super nice, and I agreed. And I thought maybe it came with a parking spot, or maybe donuts on my desk every day, but he didn't really mention the obligation to speak at a school board meeting, which makes me a little nervous, but here I am. Anyways, I did want to share a quick little story, and I wrote it down so I'll hopefully get it right. A number of years ago, we were at a team meeting. We have all the time, and we had really a very difficult student that year. And somebody had come in and said that we needed to make a schedule change. And would anybody on the team be willing to have the student in their silent reading period? And normally when those type of questions come up, but you kind of not make eye contact and maybe pretend you're real busy or something. But I didn't really have to lean into my bag of tricks, because just almost without a delay, my colleague Chris Bazan said, "I'll take them." And knowing that probably would have to change the name of the course, because it probably wouldn't be silent reading any longer, because this was really a difficult student. Anyways, I just really remember that little story, because it just sort of helps remind me of the kind of people I work with. Really lucky to work with people who just step up, cooperate, look out for the interests of kids, team before self, and just that I can do that attitude. And it's just been really a pleasure to work with the people at West, and making what can be a rather difficult job a lot easier and more enjoyable when you work with people like that. In a little less than 2 months from now, when the Vikings win the Super Bowl, every member of that team is going to get a chance to hold the Vince Lombardi Trophy. And although it is an honor to hold the trophy, everyone knows that no individual player can claim the trophy as their own, as it is the team encouraging, sacrificing, cooperating, and working together that ultimately leads to success. Vince Lombardi said, I'll quote, "The achievements of an organization are the results of the combined effort of each individual." And that really, I think, sums up what we've got going on over at West. It's a great place to work, and we work really well together. As a matter of fact, I think maybe Congress could come over and take a lesson by watching one of our team meetings on what it means to cooperate and to maybe compromise a little. I've been very fortunate to have worked with a lot of really great people. Far too many to name here tonight. I would like, however, to point out a couple. First, I have a terrific team. Chris Bazans and I came in 25 years ago, and we've been working every day together. And that's probably, I don't know if anyone keeps track, but maybe the longest standing team, yet certainly within the middle schools, maybe in the district at this point. Sarah Goldman joined us 2 years later. She's been with us 23 years. And for many years, Cindy Fisher. And then she retired, and for the last 8 years, Bree Jorgensen. But Chris and Sarah and Cindy and Bree are just fantastic teammates. Couldn't ask for better. Second, Sue Greger, who's here tonight. Sue's been a constant source of encouragement since day one. I showed up at West 25 years ago. And if you know Sue, you know she can be a little salty at times, but always encouraging and a great friend. And last but not least, my wife Lori, she's an amazing teacher. She should probably be here, not me, who quietly, without boasting, does amazing things in her classroom. And she is an inspiration to me both at work and at home. So thanks so much for having me here tonight and for this honor.
Congratulations again, Dan, and thanks to the cheering crowd to be here tonight this evening. We're glad that you could join us. The next recognition is for our Club YES, and I'd like to invite Brenda Badger, our leader of that group, and her students representatives that are here tonight. And I'm going to just give a real brief introduction, and then Brenda and/or the students will speak about the awards, and we'll hear more about this wonderful group we call Club YES, which is a high school group, and I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1,000 students that are involved in this program, and they do an incredible number of wonderful things within the community, and it's not uncommon for them to be recognized for the work that they do. So I'll just share briefly, and then I'll turn it over to Brenda and her students. We're excited to recognize Wayzata High School's YES for a recent community award, as well as to share information about a high-profile service learning project they are coordinating and participating in January. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Brenda and her students. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Anderson and everyone else. It's our honor to be here this evening. First of all, we'd like to share with you that recently Club YS was named Community Partner of the Year by Bloom Early Learning Center here in Plymouth. Over the last 10 years, we have sent approximately 500 volunteers to Bloom Early Learning Center, and it's a combination of Club YS students and then students from the YES class that happens during the school day. So they're one of our many community partners, and it was just a great honor to receive this award from them this fall. I was hoping that a couple of the volunteers from Bloom would be here this evening, but there's a band concert and a few other high school commitments going on that prevented them from being able to be here. But with that, we have something else exciting to share with you this evening, and that is an upcoming project called Super Kids, Super Sharing. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the students that joined me this evening, and let me introduce them first. I have senior Michael Smith, junior Alexis Logis, and senior Marina Berardino. And they are members of the Student Leadership Board with Club YS and do a lot of leadership within the club. So I'm turning it over to them at this time.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Anderson. Thanks for inviting us this evening. Last June, Mrs. Badger, Amanda Cushman, who couldn't be here tonight, and myself went down to the U.S. Bank Stadium to hear a presentation from the NFL about Super Kids, Super Sharing. The NFL and Super Bowl host committee were inviting districts to participate in the service project with them during Super Bowl 52. We thought it was a great opportunity, and over the summer, Dr. Anderson helped us reach out to our school principals to find out if they were interested in joining. We have 100% participation among our schools. Club YS is serving as the project lead for our district. We have divided up into various committees to plan out the logistics of this project. I have been a part of the communications committee, and we have developed a full communications plan to promote Super Kids, Super Sharing throughout our district.
Hi, I'm Marina, and I've been part of the transportation committee for this project, and we sorted through a few transportation issues, and we decided to come up with a plan to use buses and trailers to get our donations from all 12 schools to Braemar Field on January 18th, where we're all going to be sorting them out with the NFL and some Vikings players. And we also, Ms. Badger talked to PTO and PTA parent liaisons about having parent volunteers on standby for being drivers on January 18th in case we need extra vehicles to transport donations to Braemar Field.
All right, so I'm Michael, and I'm on the storage committee for the Super Kids Super Sharing project. So obviously, because this is a very large project at every school, we need a place to have the items dropped off at in every school. That requires storage boxes, and me personally, I work at the Lunds and Byerly's in Plymouth grocery department, so that was easy to get some boxes. And also Amanda Cushman, like Alexis mentioned before, she got in close touch with former alumni that worked at Home Furniture over MEA break. She was working hard on the video, connecting with Home Furniture to get boxes as well. And we're also creating committees of volunteers to help empty the boxes before school, after school, from January 3rd to the 17th each day throughout the entire project. So this is taking commitment from all levels at the high school, all the other elementary, middle schools. So this is a very large project, and we're very proud and pleased to be a part of it. And then one last thing, recently we were, us three board leaders and then also a few other members of the board were involved in a publicity project for Super Kids Super Sharing. Wayzata Life magazine is writing an article about us in the January issue, and we're honored to be on the cover of that magazine for the February issue. And as this is the first very large project we've done throughout the entire school district, we're not completely sure how this will end up, but we're hoping for super success for Super Kids Super Sharing. And at this time, we'd like to show you the Super Kids Super Sharing video. as long as there's no technical difficulties.
Fingers crossed.
Technical difficulties.
Green eggs and ham. Page 2, set, hut.
Cashman drops back. It's a quick release. The book is in the air. Boom! Another donation for the Super Kids Super Sharing campaign. The National Football League has teamed up with Wayzata schools to collect new and gently used books, school supplies, sports equipment, games, and any and all cell phones. If you happen to get a new cell phone over the holidays, donate your old one. All cell phones are accepted. Your donated items will be shared with other schools in the state that need a helping hand. It's easy to donate. Simply bring your donation to any Wayzata public school. This is it.
Give me an S. S.
The big show.
Give me a U. U.
All eyes are on Minnesota for the Super Bowl.
Give me a P. P.
Show your Trojan pride and be bold.
Give me an E. E.
Support Super Kids Super Sharing.
Give me an R. R. What's that spell?
Look for the donation boxes beginning Wednesday, January 3rd. Collections will end January 17th. Find stuff to donate now and bring it to school after break. Super Kids Super Sharing for the 52nd Super Bowl.
Just a final comment, as you can see, we're super excited. And do you have any questions for myself or my students at this time? Go ahead.
Oh, I just wondered, are you going to share that video with all the different schools and they can show it on their news
Yes.
shows?
So each school has, a principal has appointed a point person, staff point person for their school. In most cases, we have student leadership groups throughout the other schools taking the lead on this. And I've created a Google shared toolkit. So there's a complete toolkit guide with all the publicity materials and logistics included in their toolkits. We also receive materials from the NFL. All schools have those items at this time. Yes, we will be using the video throughout the district in many different ways to promote this project.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so this is super exciting. So if parents are watching at home or hear about it and they, are you still looking for volunteers? And then would they just look for their point person at their home school, or how would someone?
Correct. At this time, we really think that, well, we have buses lined up. We have 6 buses and trailers. We'll be pairing schools for the transportation and delivery on January 18th to Braemar. But if there's this need where we have too much stuff and can't get it all in a trailer, we will be reaching out to parents of schools. Kind of, it's going to be a little bit of how it all shakes out, like, you know, what we end up. Some schools might have more than others. It's hard to tell. So that we know that we have great parents and families in the district, and so it's just nice to have them on standby. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much for your support and for your time.
Thanks. Purge the house. We did do that. Oh, my goodness. Maybe I'll have a chance to do that by January. Or not. I don't know. Oh, my gosh.
Well, congratulations again to Club YES and Brenda and all of your hard work and great teamwork by our students and all the projects that they're involved with. So we just so greatly appreciate the great ambassadors you are for our community. What a wonderful night of recognitions this evening, and Employee of the Month, and recognizing retirees, and hearing about our students, and quotes from Vince Lombardi, and it's just been a wonderful evening of recognitions. We have one final one, although Grant stole a little bit of my thunder on this one in announcing that Wayzata High School was recognized this year as on the AP Honor Roll list. And I might just read a paragraph of this and give you a little bit of a condensed version. There's a more full version in the, or a more complete version in the board packet. Wayzata Public Schools is one of 447 school districts in the U.S. and Canada being honored by the College Board with placement on the 8th Annual AP District Honor Roll. Since 2015, Wayzata Public Schools has increased the number of students participating in AP while also increasing or maintaining the percentage of students earning AP exam scores of 3 or higher, both requirements for inclusion in the 8th Annual Honor Roll. Reaching these goals shows that the district is successfully identifying motivated, academically prepared students who are ready for AP. And one of the requirements of this is that there's an increase in participation, one of the criteria, increase in participation and access to AP by at least 4% in large districts, of which we would be considered a large district, and maintaining high academic performance on the AP exams when increases in participation across all demographic groups occurs. And it's really a nice honor. I think there were 6 or 7 schools in the state of Minnesota that were recognized. So congratulations to our high school administrative staff and our teachers and students for pushing themselves and taking these accelerated courses. We're just very proud of the work that they're doing in that regard. So given that, I think that concludes our recognitions for the evening, and now is a great time to make a graceful exit, or you can stay for the audit report if you'd like to. You're more than welcome, but thanks for being here and have a great evening.
Dr. Anderson was focused on Vince Lombardi and not the comment about the Vikings winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, I missed that part.
You missed that part? I should point out that my neighbor Amanda Cushman was part of Club YES and was featured in the video, but we missed her tonight. I think she's at the band concert at the high school, so wanted to point that out. She's a great kid. All right, the next item on our agenda is Superintendents Reports and Recommendations, and we've got a number of items under Finance and Business, beginning, I believe, with our annual audit. So, Mr. Westrom, I will turn it over to you.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This evening we have 5 items. The first is our comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2017. And within your board book, you do have an agenda sheet that indicates that the annual audit has been completed by the auditing firm of Malloy, Montague, Karnowski, Radosevich and Company. You did go over these reports in great detail at your work session 2 weeks ago. I did want to introduce our guest, Jackie Hugel, who is with the firm, and also wanted to thank Melissa Lahr, who spent a great deal of work in preparing the audit work papers and the financial reports. So there is a recommended action before you to approve the reports for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2017, after Jackie does her presentation. But I'm watching your PowerPoint and it's not running quite yet. We'll get that here in a second, but perhaps I'll work on that and you can make some remarks at this point.
All right, well, as Jim noted, I'm here to present the audit results for the year ended June 30th, 2017. He also had noted we went over the full financial statement report in full detail at the work session, so I'm going to give more of a high-level summary of the financial results.
So maybe we can find it.
Keep going for now.
Yeah, I think you can
Okay.
I think we have a theme going tonight related to technology.
All right, well, our role as auditors is to issue an opinion on the financial statements of the district audit. Since the district does receive more than $750,000 awards, we also issue an opinion on the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. The district also has the extracurricular student activity accounts, which are not under board control, so we issue a separate report over these and issue a separate opinion on this. As part of our audit, we also test the internal controls and compliance over the financial statement audit, with the federal single audit, with Minnesota state laws and regulations, and also with the manual for activity fund accounting. And for the audit results over the financial statement audit, we issued an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion on the basic financial statements. In the current year, I just want to point out that the district was required to implement 2 new pension and OPEB standards. It was GASB statements number 73, 74, and 75. The standard requires the district to report their full OPEB liability and their pension liability on the government-wide financial statements. And with the implementation of these new standards, it reduced the government-wide beginning net position by about $29.9 million. And these are only reported on the entity-wide financial statements other than a small portion, the small district pension plan and the internal service fund, which you'll see coming up later in the presentation. For the report on the internal control and compliance over the financial statement audit, we did report 1 material weakness in the internal controls over financial reporting, and this related to a prior period adjustment. With a significant amount of construction activity going on in the district did review their capital assets and noted certain previously expensed costs that should have been capitalized, and that was all corrected during the current year audit. But as part of the financial statement audit, we had no compliance findings to report, and with our report on the Minnesota legal compliance audit, we had no compliance findings to report. For the audit results over the federal single audit area, we noted that the schedule of expenditures of federal awards is fairly stated in relation to the basic financial statements. We had no deficiencies to report related with the internal controls over compliance, and we had no compliance findings to report with the federal single audit. For the audit results related with the student activity audit, we issued an opinion on the reported cash balances, the receipts and disbursements, and noted that they are fairly presented. We do report an internal control comment since these accounts are on the cash basis of accounting. We're only auditing the recorded cash receipts, so there's no way to assure that all the cash receipts are recorded. For the compliance audit with the manual for activity fund accounting, we did have the 3 comments to report. The first related, there were some student activity accounts with improper accounts and activity. The second there, the activity purpose forms were not completed for each of the student activity accounts. And lastly, there were some untimely deposits in the student activity area. The next several slides relate to the financial results of the district. The first one here being the general fund financial position. For the year ended June 30th, 2017, the general fund cash and investment balance was $32.3 million at year end, which is a decrease of $1.5 million from the prior year. The total general fund balance was $16.1 million at year end. That's a decrease of $7.6 million from the prior year compared to a budgeted decrease of $7.6 million. So overall, the district was within $35,000 of the budget that was approved. This shows a table of the components of the general fund balance for the past 5 years. For the current year end, the district had non-spendable fund balance of about $355,000, and that's non-spendable because it's tied up in prepaid and inventory items. There's a restricted deficit fund balance of about $2.1 million, and in there it's mainly due to the deficit restricted fund balance for the long-term facilities maintenance, which the district does have future levy authority for. It's all due to the timing of projects. The $4.9 million in the assigned fund balance at year end is for various items, mainly the post-employment obligations for site carryover at the various schools, and also for school opening costs. And the remaining $12.9 million is in unassigned fund balance at year end, and that represents 9.5% of the expenditures of this fund. This shows a graph of the adjusted ADM and the pupil units served by the district for the past 10 years. For the current year end, the district served an estimated ADM of 11,332. It's an increase of 474 ADM, or 4.4% from the prior year. This next couple of graphs shows the general fund revenue, and then I'll have a similar graph of the general fund expenditures showing current year actual, current year budget, and comparing it to prior year actual. Total general fund revenues were $142.9 million, which is about $2 million less than projected in the budget. The main budget variance was in the revenues from other local sources, which were about $1 million under budget, and primarily due to the district budgeting for all the investment income in the general fund, but that does get allocated to other funds of the district. General fund revenues increased about $10.9 million from the prior year. And that's mainly in state sources, which was due to the increased enrollment of the district, and also the increase in the general education funding allowance. And also the increase in property taxes was due to the new long-term facilities maintenance levy, which is now recorded in the general fund. Here's a similar graph of the general fund expenditures. Total general fund expenditures were about $137.5 million, which is about $2 million under the final budget. The budget was spread across the various categories noted up above. Supplies and materials were about $1.5 million under budget, and that's due to the school sites not spending their full allocations. Capital expenditures were about $1.1 million over budget, and that's due to timing of projects. And the other expenditures were about $900 under budget, and that's due to the over budgeting for the TRA direct aid, which was also offset in revenues. Overall, the total general fund expenditures increased about $12.9 million from the prior year. And it's mainly due to the capital expenditures and the purchase service cost increase from the prior year due to the more construction projects with the long-term facilities maintenance levy that is now coded into the general fund. This graph shows the other operating funds of the district, mainly the food service special revenue and the community service special revenue funds. The food service fund had a fund balance increase of $11,000 compared to a budgeted decrease of $232,000. At year end, the fund balance was about $655,000, which represented 10.5% of the current year expenditures. The community service fund had a fund balance increase of about $348,000 compared to a budgeted decrease of $232,000. And the year-end fund balance in this fund was about $2.5 million, which represents 28.7% of the expenditures. The district also has 2 internal service funds which account for the activity related to the district's medical and dental self-insurance, and also the early retirement accounts. The self-insurance accounts at year-end had a net position of about $3.4 million, and that's for future medical and dental benefits. And the early retirement accounts in the current year reported that change in accounting principle of about $2.4 million due to the implementation of GASB 73, where the district's now showing their district pension plan into the full accrual internal service funds. And at year end, this fund had a deficit net position of about $2.5 million. The last slide I have is of the district-wide statement of net position. This summarizes the full accrual financial statements of the districts. It includes all the capital asset activity of the district as well as all the long-term liabilities of the district. As you can see in this table, that the total net position decreased about $72.9 million from the prior year. It's mainly in the unrestricted net position bucket. As you can see in this table, if you look up above, it mainly relates to the pensions in the OPEB line, and that's due to the $29.9 million change in accounting principle that I previously mentioned that the district implemented related with the OPEB and pension standards. And then the other portion of it was related with the change in the district's proportionate share of the PERA and the TRA, the statewide pension obligations. That's all I have. If there's any questions that I can answer.
Anybody have any questions for Jackie? We can, yeah. Eric.
I've actually got a question for Mr. Westrom, but that might be after the resolution.
Sure. Fair. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Jackie. And members of the board, the resolution, or there's a recommended action before you. to approve the reports for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2017, and further to ratify the assigned fund balance in the amount of $4,918,059 as of June 30th, 2017, to be used for the specific purposes noted within your packet.
All right, thank you, Mr. Westrom. So the recommended action is before you. Is there a motion?
I so move.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right, and opportunity to discuss, ask any questions. I think, Mr. Brown, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Westrom, the finance group, and MMKR. I appreciate all the detail that went into this. And thanks for presenting at the work session, where we all asked a lot of questions at that point as well. I do have one question for Mr. Westrom, actually two, but there were some recommendations made around the student activity management and disbursement accounts. Are you looking into any changes to kind of strengthen compliance and controls there?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown and members of the board. Yes, as a matter of fact, student activity accounts are governed under the MAFA, the Minnesota Guidance for Student Activity Accounts, and the school district's business office, in conjunction with our teaching and learning department, are going to take a comprehensive view of our PTA's fundraising events, and as well as our student council and student activity accounts in each of the various buildings, and in regards to their activities. So we anticipate that we would probably have a recommendation to you about mid-year. And we'll also be working closely with our Citizens Finance Advisory Council to seek recommendations on how to strengthen the accounting and the management of those various functions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Ms. Paulzine?
Did you have a second question?
Oh, did you have a
Yeah.
second question?
Well, you
or was
sort of
it-
answered my second question.
Okay.
I was really going to ask if we could bring that back to the Board Finance Committee and discuss in further detail. So you
Yes,
answered.
we do plan to report that back. It's a part of our operational excellence initiative that's been implemented over the last several years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, Ms. Paulzine?
Okay, so I just wanted to say thank you to Jim and his whole team, Jill Schwint and Melissa Lahr for all their work on this, and MMKR for all of their work with us. It's my understanding that last year we did receive a Certificate of Excellence in Finance Reporting. I believe that was through ASBO, which is the National Association of Business Managers. I might not get that exactly right, but I just wanted to congratulate the district for doing, crossing all their Ts and dotting all their Is. And I also wanted to mention, I think it was last year, the first year that MMKR worked with us, they suggested that we strengthen some of our internal controls in that some of our practices, which we were doing correctly, but we didn't really have everything written down, so that we had sort of a manifesto of all of our practices and whatnot. And I believe this year we are following that. So establishing a whole system for that is kudos to you for doing that. And so anytime there's improvements, it's really positive reflection on the district. So I wanted to say kudos to all of you for that, and thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you, Treasurer Paulzine. As I mentioned in our Finance Committee earlier this month, that basically the district has been documenting those in a newsletter that goes out to all program managers and anybody who has any budgetary authority or any fiscal duties. And we will have those fully documented and incorporated by reference so that we continue to strengthen those operations throughout the district. And then the Certificate of Excellence in Operational Reporting is part of ASBO, the Association of School Business Officials International. And that tradition has been going on since the 90s, when the school board determined that it was prudent to bring a CFAC, Citizens Finance Advisory Council, made up of 12 community leaders who have expertise in the financial area to advise the board in financial matters. So we continue those operational excellent initiatives and continue to serve our community. Thank you.
One final note from me, I think it's important for our residents, taxpayers to hear, if you look at our board packet tonight, there's roughly 220 pages of materials, and we don't just flip through these for the first time tonight. There's a lot of effort that goes on in our finance committee at our board work sessions, before our CFAC that Mr. Westrom just mentioned, and of course, all of the work that goes on with Mr. Westrom's team, Jill Schwint and Melissa Lahr in particular. So this is a great deal of work that goes into this, and I just wanted everybody to know that it's not just a quick pass at 220 pages. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. So thank you to MMKR and to Jim and your extended team. All right, with that, we have a motion and a second, and if there's any other discussion, nope. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, the recommended action passes.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Westrom,
Chair.
it's back to you.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. We have a couple other financial and business matters. The first one is a resolution establishing combined polling places and designating hours for any election. A change in Minnesota statute, sections 205A.11, requires the establishment of polling places for the next year to be adopted by December 31st. Even though we don't have any plans for an election, we want to be in compliance with that for any reasons that something would come up. So the law requires each combined polling place to be a polling place designated by a county or a municipality. So as I mentioned, although Wayzata Public Schools is not scheduled to hold an election in calendar 2018, it has been recommended by the Minnesota School Board Association to establish such polling places. So that information is included in your board packets, and the recommended action is before you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Westrom. So the recommended action is to adopt the resolution establishing combined polling places for calendar year 2018 for school districts elections not held on the same day as a statewide election, and designated hours during which the polling places will remain open. Is there a motion?
I so move and ask that we waive the reading of the full resolution.
All right, thank you, Ms. Polzin. Is there a second?
Second?
All right, any discussion? All right, and I believe Ms. Keen will do a roll call vote for this?
Yes.
Okay.
Bonita Lucky.
Yes.
Sarah Johansson.
Yes.
Linda Cohen.
Yes.
Andrea Keen, yes. Eric Brown.
Yes.
Cheryl Polzin.
Yes.
Chair McCullough.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the board, the next item is a hearing. It's our truth and taxation hearing. It does not require action on your part. And I have attempted to determine if anybody at the meeting this evening needed additional information regarding their parcel-specific property tax statement, and nobody indicated such. So we'll go through the truth and taxation requirements, which are for levy year 2017 taxes payable in 2018. A school district must hold a truth and taxation hearing and discuss the payable 2018 levy and the current year budget at our regular meeting. The truth and taxation requirements are as follows. We must, on or before September 30th, adopt a proposed 2017 payable 2018 property tax levy and certify it to the county auditor, which we did. Then the county auditor mails parcel-specific notices to each property owner in the district, which was done in November. The school district is required to discuss the payable 2018 levy, as well as the current year budget, which we're about to do. And then the public must be given time to speak. And then finally, the school board must adopt a final levy by December 31st, 2017. One item I would like to point out is that the parcel-specific tax notices that were mailed to each of the property owners in the district included amounts prior to the November election where the voters approved an increase in the operating referendum authority and the facility bond authority. So with that, I'm going to begin the truth and taxation notice, and it's you'll notice that this is a notice that basically indicates that the Wayzata School District plans to approve a property tax levy to fund a portion of the 2018-19 school year, and that the meeting and presentation will occur right now at this location, and then the board will be asked to approve the referendum. So The first thing I'd like to do is point out that we need to talk about the 2017-18 budget. Many of our other municipalities, counties, and cities actually are in the process of setting their budgets for the period January through December 2018. We actually run on a fiscal year that goes from July 1st through June 30th. So the board has already taken action to approve and begin the operations for the 17-18 school year. So you'll recall back in June, you actually approved the following. In the revenues of the district in total was $193,738,651, and your expenditures were $192,468,277. This information, the full budget document, is included on the district's website, and I know that you're intimately familiar with this information, so that is the budget. Just a couple items I wanted to point out is the district primarily receives its revenue from two sources. The state aid is typically about 61%, and that's based on a per pupil or a number of students that we serve times a per pupil amount. And then our property tax levy is about 33% of our budget. We do receive about 2% in federal revenue, and then other revenue, which would include interest earnings and other grants and such, would be about 4%. So our budget primarily is financed by the state of Minnesota. When we're looking at our expenditures, it would be no surprise, because we're a service organization, that a great majority of our expenditures are attributed to salary and benefits of staff serving students. And so if you look at this, you can see our salary and benefits are over 71% of our budget. And then our purchase services, which would include transportation and other contracted services that we do not provide our own staff for, work out to be about 14%. And then the remaining portions of the budget are listed before you as well, and is also included in the district's website. If you look at our property tax history, this graph was actually shared with the board when you gave careful consideration to seeking approval for an increase in revenue through the property tax levy from the voters. And I think it's important to note that our student enrollment has been growing pretty evenly over the last several years until recently, when we've seen quite a bit of a spike. As you heard Jackie Hugel say, our student enrollment grew about 4% last year, and we're anticipating that it will continue to grow about 400 students. If you look at this document, you can see that in 2009, 2010, we had 10,374 students, and next year we're projecting 11,800 or more. So pretty robust growth, but our property tax levy has largely remained kind of a linear increase based on, and it's closely correlated with the number of students that we serve. So the final proposed pay 2018 levy, you'll notice the 2017 certified levy was $60.8 million, and the 2018 proposed levy is $68.6 million. However, the change is largely due to the amounts that were approved by the voters. You probably recall that we asked for the voters to give authority to go to the cap of $2,000 per pupil, and also to issue $70 million worth of bonds. And we intentionally wanted to provide tax relief, and the board wanted to provide tax relief to the voters, and so there's a reduction of $3 million in otherwise planned long-term facility maintenance revenue. So the total levy among all funds is listed before you, and once again, I had already shared that number with you, and the board has gone over this in great detail, and our Citizens Finance Advisory Council has as well. And so just a couple key messages. The school board approved a 4.18% increase in its property tax levy last year in 2017. Had we not gone to the voters and sought additional revenue, the property tax increase would have been about 3.6%, and that's primarily due to the fact that we've seen over $1 billion in property tax market value growth over the last year, and we're anticipating that to continue in the future, which should continue to soften any future tax impacts on our taxpayers. So once again, the voters approved to increase the district's operating referendum for 2018. The voters approved $70 million in bond funding for district facilities for 2018. And then the voters approved the renewal of the technology funding for 2018. and then the board actually reduced its long-term facility maintenance revenue by $3 million. So the effect on taxpayers is somewhat difficult to determine a direct correlation. The district's tax levy is spread to property owners based upon their taxable market value. So there isn't a direct correlation between the district's total levy change and what individual property tax owners will pay, because if any changes in the tax base occur and they change differently for each individual parcel, that will have a direct impact. But as I mentioned before, the district's tax base is increased by nearly $1 billion in market value, and that should serve to soften any impact on any increase in the district's total levy. So if you look at this chart before you, on average, if we would not have gone to our voters and asked for additional authority or revenue, our average taxpayer would have seen a 2.7% decline in their property taxes. And that's largely due to the increase in the property tax base. Throughout the referendum informational campaign, we shared that the total tax impact of approving all three questions would be $14.50 per month on a $350,000 home. And we have been able to achieve that, and we're able to demonstrate that. So the changes from last year, which is the last item that we need to discuss this evening, is the largest change in the general fund levy is from voter-approved referendum authority approved by the voters in the November of 2017 to the cap. And the largest change in the debt service fund levy is the principal and interest payments for the first year on the $70 million in voter-approved bond authority, approved by voters in 2017. And once again, our school board has chosen to under-levy or reduce other levies by $3 million to provide tax relief to our taxpayers. So with that, now is a time for board discussion and an opportunity for the public to comment.
All right, thank you, Mr. Westrom. Any questions that we haven't already asked in work sessions or otherwise? All right, and I don't know if we have any members of the public here that are interested in commenting. All right, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr.
Yes,
Westrom.
thank you. So the next item is a monthly update that we provide to the board. We thought we would do that instead of going right into the property tax levies. So enclosed for your review and information are the following financial reports as of October 2017, the Student Activity Fund Report, the investment summary, an analysis of the financial reports, a statement of revenues, and a statement of expenditures. And we did meet today, a committee of the board, the Finance Committee, and reviewed the operations through October 2017, and everything appears to be reasonable, and our analytical procedures to review any trends appear to be reasonable as well. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to respond.
All right, thank you, Mr. Westrom. Any questions on the monthly financial reports? Okay.
Okay, and then our last item this evening is the certification of the 2017 payable 2018 tax levy. The administration recommends certification of the 2017 payable 2018 property tax levy in the amount of $68,605,225.05. This amount includes the financial impact of voters approving operating referendum authority of $2,000 per pupil unit and principal and interest on the first year of voter-approved bonds from the November 2017 election. The total amount is broken out by referendum market value, tax capacity, and by fund before you. So the recommended action is before you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Westrom. So the recommended action is to approve and authorize the school board clerk to sign the final 2017, just payable in 2018, property tax levy in the amount of $68,605,225.05 for Independent School District 284 as described by Mr. Westrom and detailed in your board materials. Is there a motion?
I so move.
And a second?
Second.
All right, is there any further discussion or questions? Yes, Ms. Johansson.
Yeah, just as sort of a wrap-up conversation, Mr. Westrom, Ms. Lahr, and all of the finance team, this is a lot. And as a board, we've been working alongside of you in work sessions and committees to really look at all that you've presented tonight. And so thank you to the team for pulling this all together for us and for the tremendous amount of work from my colleagues as well as our administration to pull it together.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second, and this is a roll call vote for Ms. Keen.
All right, Cheryl Polzin,
Yes.
Eric Brown,
Yes.
Andrea Keen, yes. Linda Cohen,
Yes.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Bonita Lucky,
Yes.
Chair McCullough.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Westrom. All right, the next item on our agenda under Superintendent's Reports are a couple of policy items. Again, this month we have a few policies in our 200 series of policies, which are our School Board of Directors policies, meaning that they pertain to the school board. So, Dr. Anderson, do you want to provide an overview? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Chair and members of the board, we have for your review for first reading tonight 3 policies, and I'll share a brief summary before stating the recommended action. Policy 203, school board elections, will serve to replace with an updated version that's aligned to the MSBA and the Minnesota statute. Policy 208, school board committees, replace with updated version aligned to MSBA and Minnesota statute, as well as to reflect current practices. And also you'll find in your packet policy 208R, which means regulations for the school board committee regulations. And then finally, repeal policy 211, board meeting procedures. This information is duplicated in policy 210 and policy 210-R. And the recommended action is to approve the policies for first reading as presented.
All right, thank you, Dr. Anderson. The recommended action is before you. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we actually approve the policies for first and second reading and move them forward for final approval.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Johansson. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I could just lend a little bit of context, as you'll see, as you heard in Dr. Anderson's narrative, these policies have been reviewed in committee and really looked at for duplication and alignment with current statute and the practices of MSBA. We also, you'll all recall, saw 208, policy 208 at our November work session in conjunction with the board standard operating procedures. And then just a reminder for 211, as well as when we look at policies in committee for the gaps and make sure that we're up to speed, we also look for overlaps. And so anytime that we can streamline what we're doing and make sure that it's clear and accessible to our community, we do that. And so I tell you that we've looked at them through committee and are confidently pushing them to the board meeting now.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Johansson. Motion, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, the policies pass. Thank you. Our final item under Superintendent's Reports is teaching and learning. We have one item tonight regarding the West Metro Education Program, and Dr. Anderson, I'll turn it over to you first.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, in your board packet is a resolution indicating that be it resolved that the school board approve the district's withdrawal from the West Metro Education Program effective June 30, 2018. I would like to share a little bit of the background information that's included in your packet, and I'll share the following. Wayzata has an ongoing commitment to ensuring excellence for each and every student. This commitment is reflected in the school district's strategic roadmap. Delivering the mission and vision of the school district is done through implementation of all internal operations through engagement with community and regional partners. One school district partner has been the West Metro Education Program, which was created when the Wayzata Public Schools became a member through a joint powers agreement. WEMAP has been a benefit to member school districts in a number of ways. As time has passed, WEMAP has undergone several changes, and it has evolved into a different type of organization. Some of the changes that have occurred include changes in leadership and organizational structure, modification to governance structures, addition and deletion of member school districts, discontinuance of member district teachers working at the WEMAP magnet schools for a 3-year rotation, conveyance of the 2 magnet schools, which you'll recall were the Fair Crystal and Fair Downtown schools, which were conveyed to 2 different independent school districts, Robbinsdale and Minneapolis, respectively, and reassignment of several WEMAP teaching staff members to member school districts. WEMAP is quite different today than it was at the time of its inception, and many of its original trademark features, including those noted above, are no longer part of its service makeup. In the 2015-16 school year, WEMAP had 11 school district members. Currently, membership stands at 6, and those schools are Eden Prairie, Minneapolis, St. Anthony, New Brighton, Robbinsdale, St. Louis Park, and Wayzata. Original and/or former members of WEMAP that have recently withdrawn from WEMAP include Brooklyn Center, Columbia Heights, Edina, Hopkins, and Richfield. The Wayzata Public Schools Teaching and Learning Leadership Team, the Strategy Leadership Team, and the School Board's Teaching and Learning Committee have had recent discussions regarding the district's WEMAP membership. Each of these groups supports discontinuing membership in WEMAP, strengthening the school district's existing partnerships, seeking new and more effective instructional strategies and family engagement activities. The WEMAP Joint Powers Agreement requires any member seeking to withdraw from WEMAP to approve a withdrawal resolution to be given to to the WEMAP Board on or before December 30 of a given school year. The withdrawal would be effective on June 30 of the same school year in which the notice was given. And I won't read the entire next paragraph, but I just wanted to emphasize that Wayzata Schools has a second achievement and integration partnership with the Orono Public Schools, and that this partnership qualifies us to secure the same funding as it currently receives. The administration discussed its WEMAP membership with the school board at its November 27th, 2000 school board work session. The school board asked the administration to bring a recommendation regarding WEMAP membership to the December 11, 2017 school board meeting. After careful review and consideration of school board inputs and through discussions with a number of district staff, it's the administration's recommendation to submit a certified letter to the WEMAP board chair indicating the Wayzata Public Schools' intent to withdraw from WEMAP effective June 30, 2018. Wayzata Public Schools does have the option to reconsider this decision to withdraw as a member of WEMAP during the coming months if reasons to do so evolves.
All right, thank you, Dr. Anderson. So the recommended action here is to adopt the resolution relating to the intent to withdraw from the West Metro Education Program by Independent School District 284, as just described by Dr. Anderson and further detailed in your board packets. Is there a motion?
I so move.
And ask that we waive the reading of the resolution.
Yes. And ask that we skip the reading of the resolution.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cohen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Lucky. Any further discussion on this item? Yes, Ms. Johansson.
Mr. Chair, colleagues, and Dr. Anderson, you all know that this is one of those examples of a decision that was not taken lightly, and this is absolutely not the first time that we've had the conversation. I won't repeat all of what Dr. Anderson said or what was written in the board packet, but I do really want to underscore and highlight the fact that if this motion carries tonight, that it's not an abandonment of the work. And in fact, it reinforces and underscores the importance of the work that we have in front of us, which is ensuring an excellent education for each and every student. By making a decision to do something different than WEMAP, it opens our district up to additional opportunities for learning and understanding and opportunities to embrace what we know works, as well as explore new initiatives. And so, again, I think this is a really tough decision. As the WEMAP board representative for the last 2 years. It has certainly been an honor and a privilege to serve on behalf of Wayzata and our district, and I appreciate the work of all of the member districts that sit around the table with me. I will continue to be an active member of the board, and I really do look forward to the continuing work at our district around meeting the needs of all of our students.
Thank you, Ms. Johansson. Any further comments or discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. We will, Ms. Keen, I believe, take a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Cheryl Polzine.
Yes.
Eric Brown.
Yes.
Andrea Keen, yes. Linda Cohen.
Yes.
Sarah Johansson.
Yes.
Bonita Lucky. Yes. Chair McCullough.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you, Ms. Keen. All right, the next items on our agenda tonight are other board action or board reports. Do we have any items tonight from any of my colleagues? All right. We now have an opportunity for the audience to address the board. Not related to truth and taxation. This is just the general opportunity. So if anybody would like to address the board. All right. With that, our last item would be adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I so move.
Second?
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, the Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for December 11, 2017 is adjourned.